Number 11. Stick. You could argue that one of the easiest kinds of crimes to pull off is the famous stick-up robbery, meaning you go up to a person and threaten them into giving you their purse, their money, or something else they immediately have on them. If you do it right, you can be in and out in the course of a few minutes, if not less. Enter a 17-year-old boy named Maganga, who decided to try and pull off such a heist in a really clever way, and yet he wasn't able to get away with it for a very dumb reason. His timing and execution of the initial parts were great. He stuck up a woman who was with her child and demanded the keys to her car. Naturally, she complied in fear, and he got behind the wheel of her vehicle. The problem? It was a stick shift car, and he didn't know how to drive it, just like many young people in our world today. He tried to get the car to work, but couldn't do it. Eventually, he just ran away. He was caught later for the record, but it doesn't make the crime any less dumb, because a key part of the robbery is knowing what you're about to steal, and he clearly didn't check out the car long enough to figure it out. You could even say this stick-up didn't win him a stick shift. Number 10. Doing Tesco over. If you watch a lot of movies and TV shows, one of the reasons that the criminals in those programs or films get caught is because of their ego. They overreach in their crimes because they feel they can't be caught, even though they absolutely can. Sadly, for the real world, such arrogance exists in real time and is arguably even stupider than fiction. Introducing Andrew Hennels, a man who decided he was going to rob a place at knife point, a supermarket in fact. All in all, not a bad plan if done right. The problem? He decided to brag about the attempt on Facebook. Yes, for real. This was a man who literally announced his plan to rob a place on social media and addressed it as doing Tesco over, whatever that means. Maybe he thought it was a joke? Naturally, someone saw this and promptly alerted the police. Police caught him 15 minutes later with the knife and about 410 pounds in cash stolen from a Tesco in Kings Lynn, Norfolk, right before his getaway. We honestly really shouldn't have to explain how stupid this was, but we will anyway, because who is dumb enough to announce to the world on Facebook of all platforms that they're going to rob a store? Andrew Hennels, that's who. If you're curious, he was locked up for his crime for 4 years, but he'll probably regret his dumb mistake for the rest of his life. Number 9. Weapon of choice. When you're planning a robbery, one of the most important things to think about is how you're going to do the robbing. Not just in terms of the taking and the getaway, but how you'll try and instill fear in people so they'll give you what you want. As we just showed, using a knife can work, but for most robbers, they use a gun, and the kind of gun usually depends on what they have available to them. But what if you don't have a gun or a knife? Well, you can try to fake it, but you need to make sure you have something worthy of being a fake. In Glasgow, a guy decided to try and fake having a gun by using a cucumber. No, we're not joking. To which you would say, but a cucumber looks nothing like a gun. And you would be right, but the robber had a way around that, as he covered the cucumber in a sock. Yes, this man tried to rob a store with a sock-covered cucumber. We really wish we were joking with you here. Thankfully for all, the madness was stopped when an off-duty police officer realized the man didn't have a weapon at all and tackled him to the ground. He told police it was all a joke before asking, "Am I going to jail for this?" Well, yes, of course he was. You can't just wave a cucumber around without consequences. He was jailed at the High Court in Glasgow in 2014 after admitting to assault with intent to rob. One could have argued that his stupidity could have been another charge as well under crimes against humanity, because trying to rob a place with a cucumber, that just makes humanity as a whole look bad. Do you think a cucumber is a good enough weapon to rob a store? Leave a comment letting us know, and subscribe if you're liking this video. Number 8. Don't bring a bat to a gunfight. As we alluded to earlier, one of the things that a true robber needs to do when it comes to committing a robbery is researching their target. Because if you don't do that, you could find yourself trying to rob a place that has a security guard, an emergency alarm, and various other things that could ruin your heist. Derek Mosley was not only someone who didn't think planning was necessary, he felt he didn't even need to think about the place he was robbing before going into it. He didn't even have the necessary supplies for the job. Confused? Well, he decided to rob a gun store with a baseball bat. Can you see all the ways that this could go wrong? Because he certainly didn't. This mistake led him to getting caught in the most hilarious of ways, because when the owner of the shop saw that the punk kid only had a flimsy bat, he pulled a gun off from the wall and aimed it right at him. We'd be willing to bet that the gun wasn't loaded, but clearly this kid was too dumb to even think about that possibility and remained still with his hands up until he got arrested. Number 7. Sleeping while on duty. The next one is both dumb and hilarious at the same time, because believe it or not, a very common thing for burglars to do is to find out if people have vacation homes or places they like to go at a certain time of year. They'll find these people and simply wait for them to leave for vacation, then go rob their home. Or sometimes they'll live in it for a while until the owners come back. Enter Lukasz Chodnowski, who did the latter of those options. He found out that Martin Holtley and Pat Dyson were on vacation and literally moved into their house while they were gone. He did everything while he was there too, including washing dishes, doing laundry, and even buying groceries for himself while he stayed. How did he get caught? Well, apparently he was too comfortable in the place because he literally fell asleep at the time when the older couple came home. And boy were they surprised when they walked in to see him sleeping in their bed. Just as funny though is that they were pleased by the housework he did. He did burn an old saucepan, but that happens, Pat added. The man admitted burglary and was given a 2-year conditional discharge and ordered to pay £200 in costs. As the saying goes, don't sleep on the job. Number 6. The Selfie. Some would argue that the selfie is going to be something that sends humanity into a downward spiral. Mainly because people have been stupid enough to take selfies in the dumbest of places and literally put themselves in danger just for the chance to get the perfect shot. Such was the case for Ashley Keast. Keast was a robber who stole things from a house and decided to use a stolen phone to take a selfie. Technically speaking, that would not have been dumb on its own, but what happened next was absolutely downright stupid, because he then posted the selfie of himself in the house he was robbing to WhatsApp, under the profile of the actual person he stole from. Pretty soon, officers found him at home, with a stolen Rolex watch he'd taken and hidden behind a radiator. He was jailed for 2 years and 8 months back in 2014. One would hope that he would have been caught regardless, but if the selfie was the reason he got caught sooner, so be it. Number 5. Joey Miller and Matthew McNally. Think back to some of the best heist movies and shows, and you'll know that the smart criminals wear masks over their faces, and sometimes even distort their voices so that they can't be identified. This happens all the time in the real world, and when thought out thoroughly, it can be really hard to catch these criminals. Joey Miller and Matthew McNally clearly didn't do any actual thinking when planning their, quote, epic disguises, though. We say that because they decided to alter their faces by drawing on them with a permanent marker. Yes, really. In theory, yeah, it could have worked if done right, but as you're probably thinking, if it's a permanent marker, that's not going to be easy to get off your skin. And it wasn't. As such, the police were able to find them easily, quite easily in fact, because they hadn't been able to get the marker off of their faces. Fun fact, after getting caught by police, they were given the nicknames Dumb and Dumber. We believe that's an appropriate nickname for the pair. Number 4. The Great Bird Robbery. Okay, this isn't really about a great bird robbery, but rather a robbery of a bird by a couple of drunk idiots. You see, a couple of tourists were in Australia seeing the sights, and one night they got really drunk. And as drunk people do, they wanted to go have fun at SeaWorld despite the fact that it was closed. Did that stop them? Nope, not at all. They broke into the park. One of them swam with the dolphins, another one went and decided to let off a fire extinguisher inside a shark tank. By some miracle the man wasn't eaten by said sharks, and then to cap it all off, they stole a penguin. Yeah, they stole a penguin. His name was Dirk. Poor Dirk. When they woke up and saw the helpless penguin, they for some reason tried to care for him by giving it food and putting him in their shower, which is nice of them? Eventually, though, they tried releasing him to the world via a canal, and some people caught them doing it and reported them to the police, where they were fined for the endeavor. The officers tipped to them, "Drink less vodka." Thankfully, Dirk was found and safely returned to SeaWorld. Number 3. Facebook photo. We've already shown you that social media as a whole has helped thwart many criminals, but never in a way that was quite as dumb as Mac Yearwood's case. You see, he was wanted for a crime back in 2016, and so police naturally made a poster of his mugshot and posted it all around so people could help find him. One of the people who saw it was Mac, and was so comfortable with his position in terms of not getting caught that he made the wanted poster his profile pic. Yes, for real. A friend of his saw the post and commented, "Nice mugshot," and he replied, "Thanks, buddy." Because of this action, the police were able to use his profile to track him down and then arrest him. The police were also kind enough to leave a message about the incident, warning others of the stupidity behind the act. Facebook is a great way to communicate and connect with old friends and family. If you're wanted by the police, it's probably not a good idea to use the Wanted of the Week poster of yourself as your profile pic. End quote. One has to wonder what would have happened to Yearwood if he had gotten that advice before posting the pic. Truly a mystery. Number 2. Klaus Schmidt. If someone says that anyone can be a robber, they don't know the half of it, especially when it comes to Klaus Schmidt. On the surface, he was just a regular man who decided to rob a bank at gunpoint, as regular men do. And he was doing quite well in his crime. However, he was having the money gathered and a teller asked, "Do you need a bag?" His response? He confirmed that it was a real gun. Can you guess why he said that? If you guessed he was deaf, you'd be right. He tried to rob the bank despite his disability, and when the teller realized he was hearing impaired, she sounded the alarm and the police were able to get Schmidt without him knowing he was in any danger at all. Just as dumb though, he later tried to sue the bank. Why? Because they, quote, used his disability against him. Not inaccurate, but definitely not the basis of a winnable lawsuit. Number 1. Selfie. Again. What's dumber than taking a selfie of yourself in the house you're robbing and posting it for all to see? How about taking a selfie of yourself and sending it to the police because you don't like the photo that they have plastered on your wanted poster? This is exactly what Donald Pugh did. He saw his mugshot and felt it was terrible, so he texted the police a selfie photo to, quote, correct the mistake. He told a local radio station, quote, "Man, they just did me wrong. They put a picture out that made me look like I was a Thundercat or James Brown on the run. I can't do that," end quote. Can't help but sympathize with the guy after hearing that. The Lima Police Department responded to the interview by saying, quote, "We thank him for being helpful, but now we would appreciate it if he would come to speak with us," end quote. He did indeed get arrested, and if you're still wondering why that was dumb, then we're a bit concerned for you too. It's because instead of an older photo that could have hidden differences in how he looked in the present, he gave them a literal up-to-date photo of how he looked, making it incredibly easy for him to be captured, which he was, of course. Thanks for watching. Are you amazed that such dumb criminals exist? Which of these stories did you find the most shockingly stupid? Do you know another story that would be perfect for this list? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on the Bored Badger.